I guess, yeah, from the response I'm getting, I think being this speaker after lunch is not a good thing to be. So a little bit more cheerful good afternoon actually will help me do a better job at our digital transformation can be fast-tracked through implementation of platforms. So I understand the session following is really multi-channel retailing and how it's critical. And what I guess and I believe set the tone for that is to just lead into it and talk about some background in terms of what we think is digital and then how do organizations go about implementing digital strategies and why we believe digital platforms is a good way to fast-track implementation of digital transformation initiatives within organizations. Right. Okay. So I mean, we thought and some time back, and we said that it's important to just get a good hang of what exactly is digital. I mean, and there are different ways which people look at it, and why is digital businesses making a big impact on the world of business in general, kind of stuff. So what we said is that this whole transformation is really happening through three things. One is, and maybe it's not really, or possibly is very not very relevant to physical retailers. The products are becoming digital. That is, you have digital products like cash is becoming digital. Movies distribution is becoming digital. Photography has become digital. So that's one trend which has really started making a big impact on businesses where the products themselves are getting digital, and how do organizations then face themselves to meet up to challenges where the products themselves are becoming digital. So it's a very different challenge which organizations need to face up to in terms of where they think the products could be digitized. The second is really where more business models are getting impacted because of digital technologies, where completely brand new business models are coming into play, like Uber or Airbnb or Amazon or Netflix or a whole lot of other companies where businesses which one would have thought would have never existed some time back and new business models coming into play because of availability of digital technologies like mobility, cloud, analytics. You couldn't have thought of an Uber without a mobile device kind of stuff. So there are new business models which are getting generated because of digital technologies, so what we call them digital business models. And the third is really digital business processes, which is like customer engagement, better distribution, better supply chain, where business processes are getting digitized. And what we are also saying that underlying all this is what we call as digital plumbing, which is what does the organization need to have as a digital plumbing before it actually starts implementing a long-term digital strategy and facing up to going up the value chain or expanding their business in the long term to be able to meet up with the digital challenges. So thought just set the context. I mean, as I said, this is our view of what is digital. Right. I mean, nothing. Brand new here. It's really talking about once organizations decide to go digital, then you need to look at three simple things. You need a long-term digital strategy in terms of what is one planning to achieve, or what are the challenges which are being faced by the business or industry which can be solved through implementing digital technologies. So unless you start off with, and that covers really what is going to follow in terms of that fairly long-term vision in terms of a digital strategy is important, rather than doing things on a piecemeal basis when you are actually reacting to what is happening in the market and starting to implement stuff very quickly, which at least from our experience, what we have seen is we really don't do it in a very structured, disciplined way of getting the basic strategy right, and which follows through what is the infrastructure and so on and so forth, then having a long-term sustained digital strategy will be difficult. So once you have that, you follow through with what we will call a digital journey in terms of what do you do when, what do you do first, what do you do next. That can all, then vary depending on what we call, can you identify business drivers, especially when you want to prioritize what you want to implement first kind of stuff. And those priorities can change from business to business. The priorities need not be the same for every business in terms of what do I need to do first, because the business impact of digitization of every business could be very different. So, but it's important to understand what do I need to digitize and what can create big business impact first, and that becomes what we call a digital roadmap. And that I said is, as I said, is it can change from business to business. But typically, we talk about two things. There is what is called digital engagement and digital commerce. I mean, without engagement, there's no commerce. So unless you figure out what is your strategy for digital engagement, having a digital strategy or a commerce strategy without having a proper digital engagement strategy may not work. Okay? And the third is really once you have all this, then you go about and implementing a technology strategy in terms of what tools, what products, what platforms do I need to put in place, which will help me achieve my digital strategy over a 3 to 5 year kind of a time frame. Right. So it's really taking on from the previous slide. Really 3 phases to it. What we call industrialization, creating infrastructure, transformation, and innovation. In terms of, I need to industrialize my digital business by having a very strong, sound digital infrastructure created, and the digital infrastructure could be various components of a digital strategy in terms of the underlying customer infrastructure, product infrastructure. When I talk about infrastructure, I'm not really talking about technology infrastructure. Technology infrastructure would be underlying to these things, but looking at really core business pieces of your business to understand which are really customers, products, supply chains, and so on and so forth. Can you break up your business? Because the criticality as we see it in implementing a long-term sustainable business strategy is what is popularly called getting single views of different assets or components in the organization. Unless you have a strategy to say how can we have a single view of customer, a single view of product, and a single view of inventory, you are not going to be able to put a long-term digital strategy, and you don't look at these things upfront and find solutions for that and then tinkering around with what you have. In the long run will not give you, because end of the day, unless you get that, you are not going to have a seamless, and I think the follow-on thing is all about multi-channel strategy. It will be very difficult to get a seamless multi-channel strategy unless you get these 3 things right. So I call it the customer infrastructure, inventory, and product infrastructure. Right, so we call it the 5 mantras of going digital. One is an omni-channel strategy. We have a multi-channel strategy. And is the strategy personalized and contextual? So is it almost a one-to-one kind of a marketing? Third is, how are you going to underlay very smart digital operations to support a deeper customer engagement? And fourth is the engagement of the people involved in the digital process. So is the organization itself, which is implementing a digital transformation agenda, have people who are engaged with the digital agenda kind of stuff. And then lean technology in terms of, are we applying technologies which are very, very relevant and which are futurely scalable kind of stuff. So yeah, this is like the, whatever, the last slide, summary of what we are trying to say today, saying if you have a digital strategy, what we are recommending is that ready-made digital platforms which have been designed ground up, thinking of all the concepts we are talking about, which is like single view of customer, multi-point delivery, single view of inventory, kind of platforms would be a long-term solution for organizations to deploy digital transformation agendas, because instead of tinkering around with what you have, a good option could be to look at a fundamental transformation of your technology infrastructure and creating it from ground up. So I've been told my time is up, so I guess I have no time for questions, but maybe we can take it as part of the panel. Thank you all very much.